Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a very special guest. His name is Eric Patrick Thomas. Hey, Eric, how are you?
Doing well, man. How are you?
I am doing good, man. Thank you for being here on the show. Really appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, and it's today's Inspire Friday. So if it comes out on a Friday, it's Happy Inspire Friday.
Yeah,
Every Friday we always ask what inspires you. I've been doing it since 2014.
Wow. Okay, so every Friday you do that, huh? That's awesome.
Every Friday. I try it. Yeah, the good thing is that other people do it for me now. They caught on.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to be the only one out there asking everyone. So I just go and find the hashtag Inspire Friday. I'm like, oh, okay. Then I'll just share the stuff, like retweet or, reshare stuff on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And I love that. I love that. Well, let me give you the listeners and viewers a little bit of your background. And so they can kind of get to know you, and then we can kind of dive into it.
Yeah.
So Eric is a Flint, MI native and entrepreneur who is passionate about changing the way people view disabilities. This passion came after a fatal night in 1997 in which Eric suffered a spinal cord injury that paralyzed him from the neck down. Through his journey, Eric uses his experience to empower, resilience, and inspire change for people with barriers. In addition to serving the community as a public speaker, both motivationally and House and Senate hearings, Eric sits on several state boards as a voice for people with barriers. He is an advocate for self-determining living, hip-hop artist, D-Man, ambassador, and is the founder of Inspire brand clothing. Eric is also proud owner of the EC Awareness by Design, a business specializing in graphic designs for customer apparel, signs, and banners, which offers on the job experience of people of all abilities. Wow, that's very amazing. And so one thing that I definitely want to talk about is I want you to take us back to maybe before you had that life-changing event. How was your upbringing? Where are you originally from? And how was that life for you?
Taking it back, growing up, grew up in Flint. My parents got divorced before I was 2. And one of the things that has always been around me has been wordplay, hip hop, music. And that started from Dr. Seuss, Mother Goose, from the very early age. And then, of course, my aunt, she was a musical person. So anything with musicals, like the Music Man, Singing in the Rain, that's all her. So I had some diversity when it came to music. My uncle, he has the 80s, rock and roll. My dad, very 80s, but he listened to a lot of different things. And then my mom was more like Lionel Richie, Rod Stewart. I mean, I'm named after Eric Clapton, so I'm named after a musician. Eric Patrick Clapton, I'm Eric Patrick Thomas. So I guess it's only like that I would have followed music,
Yeah.
And so it's single parent. I live with my mom. I think when things like that happen, you, even as young as you are, you become the man of the house. You become the protector, even if you're 2 or 3. You become an adult. I always felt like I was grown, even when I was young. And I always latched on to grown people. You know, never like, it didn't seem like my age. I felt like I was mature. Like I was always mature for my age. I remember hearing that too. You're mature for your age.
Mm.
I think because I had to, you know, and I had anger issues when I was young. I mean, temper, fights, short temper for sure.
I can
You know, it
definitely relate.
wasn't,
I can definitely relate to that myself. As growing up, I had many of that, and which got me in a lot of trouble too.
yeah, yeah. Well, and this is, and I don't know where it comes from. I mean, it probably could have been because your parents aren't together anymore. I'm sure that has to do with some of it.
Mm.
But there's other things like that have to add to it to be a factor of it. I mean, I don't think I came out of this world. Was born in this world angry. You know, I don't
Right.
like. I did say um I spent 10 months. I was supposed to come out in June. I came out in July. So I
Oh,
don't know. Maybe
yeah.
that was fine.
It was the extra month. You know, you're
It's the
upset. I'm
extra
like,
month. I
hey,
was
yeah,
like, what the heck's going on? Yeah, that's what it is.
yeah.
Yeah, so I had that, and my dad, he got remarried very, you know, right a little bit after that. So I had this new family at that time, you know, new stepmom, new family, and just we got along a little bit, but then my stepmom at that time, because he's divorced now and he's remarried, you know, to I have
Mm-hmm.
my stepmom now. They met when I was in sixth grade. Uh,
Mm.
the one that my stepmom that he's with. But yeah, it was just I don't know. I didn't get along with his second wife as
Mm-hmm.
well. But there were some things that came into it, you know, that I think we got along at first, but then her daughter, when she was 7, was hit by a car and killed, and I think
Mm.
that really shifted some of the things of uh, where I was looked at. Why are you alive and my daughter's not?
Mm.
And I can feel that even though I'm young and I'm still trying to process everything. I mean, that also was my stepsister at that time too. Um, yeah, I think that that has something to do with the anger too that came down, and that also you know that traveled into school. You know, my anger went into going to
Mm-hmm.
school, getting fights, or you go
Yeah.
on the playground. So it went all the way until I was about third grade, and I was going. To, that's when I started seeing a psychiatrist. Now, whether the psychiatrist helped or not, because you know me, I'm there. I'm like, okay, like yeah, I'm listening to this guy. He's got the clipboard and a little pencil, and I'm like, whatever. Like you don't know nothing about me, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, like you're not gonna break me. So and then, but I think that it was a lot of open-ended questions and things like that, and it was maybe it was just a other person that was neutral ground
Yeah.
to talk to about what's going on. Secrecy, like, hey, you know, this is what's up, you know. So maybe that's what it was. But um, you know, so I mean, things were good. I always found happiness, even if there was sorrow, like bad times, hard times. I found happiness. Now, my happiness, I could just sit in the mirror and look at myself and go, like, yo, like, like, hey, or you know,
Yeah.
like imitate movies and
Yeah.
skits and stuff. Like I could just, I was the only child, so I could, you know, I found ways to entertain myself when I had nothing. You know, um, we did puzzles. Puzzles was an interesting.
Yeah.
I like puzzles. You know, I'd have my toy box. I had this like big blue box, and it was like all my life was in this box. You
Mm.
know, I had my bed, or but I had my box, and then I would you know pull out the puzzles and stuff, and light bright, you know, all those kind of different things, and then music, you know, just kind of came along. Watching MTV, it used to be just like rock and roll music videos,
Mm.
and then Fab Five Freddy came out, and I was introduced to this world of hip hop,
Mm.
this Dr. Seuss, you know, this wordplay stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, I never went back. I
Yeah.
never. I mean, I always watch Soul Train on Saturdays because Soul Train will be on Saturdays and wrestling, WWF,
Mm-hmm.
and then Bob Ross. So those are your. That's my Saturday. The
Mm.
Bozo show, the Bozo the Clown show too. You know. So you would, on Saturdays, you'd get up in the morning, watch cartoons, which you'd watch Bob Ross. I think it was The Joy of Painting. So he's in there and he's got this huge fro and he's painting bushes and happy trees and telling stories. He was like a painting mentor, like he was like, because he would tell stories when he paints. There's never been anybody like him ever,
Mm-hmm.
And then the Bozo show, Bozo the Clown show, and
Mm-hmm.
then wrestling, WWF, and then of course Soul Train and stuff like that. So yeah, that was like my Saturday morning. So
Yeah.
But I loved hip hop. And then when I was in elementary, might have been like fourth or fifth grade, Beastie Boys was out, things like that. Started writing hip hop music. And then before you know it, the neighborhood kids were all what we were watching and what we were absorbing. We're hip hop. We would have microphone battles and then wrestling battles. It
Yeah.
would be like wrestling to hip hop in one battle or something, or Transformers. And then Nintendo came out,
Mm.
the original Nintendo. And at that time, games didn't come out the way they do. Like 1,000 games didn't come out when I just said 1,000 games.
Right.
We didn't have an abundance of things. We had to wait.
Yeah.
We had to wait and appreciate. And I needed to learn how I build my collection. I don't know where it comes from because both of my parents, they worked for other companies.
Mm.
So they weren't business owners themselves, but they did work at the place that they worked like they owned it because they took care of it. They're hard workers. But there was a video store across the street, and I just used to observe just like how things were done. VHS, Beta, Rewind, the late fees. So I wanted to grow my Nintendo collection. So my very first entrepreneur business was renting my Nintendo games in my neighborhood.
Mm. How
For
old
the
were you?
neighborhood kids. Elementary,
Mm-hmm.
maybe
Mm-hmm.
fifth. When did Nintendo come out? Maybe fifth or sixth.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. So
think
you're
I was
about
I was at
9 or
the end of
10.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm 43 now.
Yeah.
I was born in 77. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, where does that come from? I had the little notepad. I had each movie. I had late fees. I had if it was ruined, what that was going to cost you. I had all that. Rental
Mm-hmm.
fees, how it needed to be back in, how it needed to be returned to me and when and what time.
Wow. Yeah. How did that
But
come? How did that come about? Like, how did that
I
idea come out?
don't, I have
Yeah.
no idea. Well, the video store,
Yeah.
I learned that from the video store.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is, what am I doing in the video store that young?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying too. It's the
Right.
neighborhood video store, but still,
Yeah.
you know, I felt so much older. That's the thing. And then when I look back, I'm like, I was so young.
Yeah.
So yeah, I learned that though. And so that was my very first, and I had allowance because my mom was very strict on cleaning. At that time, we were at the trailer, so I had to clean the trailer, clean the bedroom, the hallway, the living room, the dust. Like I had pledge, that pledge and everything, man. It's and then just making sure everything was clean. Before my mom came home from working, 12 hours or whatnot. So that's how I was raised, and I would get allowance. I had my own bathroom because I would live down one end of the trailer, my mom lived down the other end. So I also had to take care of that and everything. And then, um, yeah, that's how I started. I learned the value of money.
Mm.
She taught me, like money doesn't grow on trees, Eric.
Yeah.
I'm looking out there, where's the tree? Or something. So, and then, so yeah, so that was my first thing. So I built the collection that way. And then the next thing with entrepreneur was Detroit news. They were looking for people to go door to door, to knock on doors, to ask if they'd like to sign up for the Detroit newspaper or something like that. So I did pretty good with it. And then the Flint Journal caught onto it and said that there was a paper route opening up. Would you like to be a paper boy? And I was like,
Mm.
all right, it's money and
Yeah.
I can earn money. And at this time now I'm in BMX bikes. So I wanted to save some money to get this BMX bikes. I'm actually racing BMX racing now.
Mm.
And then with the allowance and then the Nintendo stuff. I still had that hustle. And I would mow lawns and shovel driveways and stuff. But then I started being the paper boy, and then I was like, okay. But I didn't realize how hard that was going to be. That's not
It,
some like
I can
that
tell you,
is tough.
it's not an easy one. I know when I was about 16 or so, I was doing, I had a paper route with my dad, and we go in the middle of the night for LA Times, and we used to go out and run and deliver and throw the papers and do all that stuff. So I can definitely relate to that for sure. Yeah.
Do you ever think back like the way that they did it for me at the Flint Journal? So on the weekdays, the paper would get dropped off at the driveway, in the bundle with like a tie on it.
Yep.
It was tied up. You had to bring it in. So this is after school, and then use your razor blade or whatever to cut the things. Then you had to roll it, rubber band it, and put it in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
If it was raining, you had to roll it, rubber band it, put it in a clear bag,
Mm-hmm.
to protect it from the water. Then you got these two bags, and then you try to put them on each end of your bicycle handles. You're like,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like trying to balance this. Don't turn too sharp or you're gonna crash. And then you
Right.
have the paper delivered to everybody that was on the route before a certain time. Then you had to collect. I had a little book, a little ledger book.
Mm.
So I had to go and knock on doors of the people that had the paper and say, I'm here to collect too. So I also
Wow.
had to collect the money.
Yeah.
It wasn't electronic. That's what I'm saying. Now I'm doing another job.
Yeah.
You're making me deliver and I gotta go collect.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, I was like,
Luckily, I never had to collect, but we had to deliver the newspaper by like before 6 a.m. So it was like literally at midnight, so that when people got up, they already had the book, the newspaper, and depending on the instructions, some of them wanted on the front porch, some of them didn't care. It could be on the lawn. Like there were specific places you had to place the newspaper. So that was interesting.
Was that on the weekdays or the weekends?
Weekdays and weekends, both.
Oh wow! See, now the weekends though, I had to be up at 5 a.m. getting the paper.
Yeah.
But see, you had to rely on the person to deliver it too, the bundles.
Right. Yeah.
And it'd be hot too. It's hot off the press.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember having the black ink running on me.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And the smell and stuff. But yeah, I did that. And of course, I went. I had a friend start with me, but as it all, when you start with a bunch of people or a friend, later on, someone jump ship, and then you're left all alone doing the whole route yourself. So, but my mom helped out too in the times that we would put the paper in the back of the trunk, and then she would just drive, and then I could get it out the trunk and go deliver it. We didn't have like specifics of where to deliver, but it definitely taught me a lot. It taught me how to be able to get. I mean, I was doing everything a retail store would do or something. I'm getting the supply, I'm rolling the supply, I'm delivering it, and I'm collecting.
Wow.
Like I'm doing all those jobs. So
Yeah.
And then I did that for a while, and then it just kind of faded away. And then of course I got in trouble. Then my friends, my five of us, we decided while we were in middle school, let's go joyriding cars. Like Grand Theft Auto or something. You know what I'm saying? But way back in the day. And it's like, yeah, let's just do it. Every night we're getting out. We start wearing darker clothes or whatever. We start blending in with the, not to be seen, and just pick out vehicles if we just wanted to get in and joyride them. And yeah, there was, and the reports started coming in, but the police didn't investigate it yet. And then we were done. And we were like, that's it, no more. We're getting too out of control with this. Like we're not thinking right. We're not thinking at all because we're joyriding cars and we're only in middle school. But it didn't seem like I was doing something wrong. It felt like something we were just like
having fun. Yeah.
Having fun. It did. It felt like that. And we were done. And then somebody decided in the group to do it one more time. And that one more time they did it by themselves, brought the investigation out, and the police came. And I remember it was a Friday, and we have this place called Cedar Point in Ohio. I'm in Michigan, and Cedar Point's in Ohio. Big, huge amusement park, one of the biggest roller coasters and things like that that are there. And my friend Sean's there, and it's Friday. We're playing basketball, and then all of a sudden I get tackled to the ground.
Mm.
Now I don't know what's going on, but it's the police that's tackling me, which is kind of weird. Whether they wouldn't have, well, no, it's not. But anyway, so, so now I'm being handcuffed, and then now I'm getting questioned. The questions coming afterwards, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I'm denying it. I mean, I'm denying it all. Like, I don't know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. Well, I'm supposed to go to Cedar Point tomorrow. Like, I'm playing basketball. You ruined it. Like, then all of a sudden I see the cop car pull up, another cop car pull up on the grass at the court, and then it's got one of the people in my group. He's in the back of the car, bawling. Ah, they know everything. They
Yeah.
know everything. I'm like,
You're like, I don't know you.
what you talking about?
Yeah.
They know it all. I told it, like, I'm like, man. So it's over. I think we were in seventh grade, the end of seventh grade. It's over. So then he's like, he does give me the I think I walked my bike. I couldn't ride it. So I walked it back. He was like, either I can take you or you can go talk to your mom and tell her. I'll tell her or you tell her. Let me tell her.
Mm.
So the cop follows me, and I think Sean goes in the back of the cop car. And so we get to the trailer. My mom's listening to, I don't know, maybe like Michael Jackson or Prince or something, dancing and excited. We're about to go to Cedar Point tomorrow. We're about to have fun, a nice little trip. And I'm in handcuffs. I remember walking in, and I can remember the look on her face. Man, never wanted to see that ever. Did not want to see that look ever again. Then I had to tell her what I did and all that stuff. It was just like the biggest disappointment look ever. I think like getting caught early like that kept me from doing a lot of other crazy stuff. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, I still did stuff, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think it kept me definitely away from, going
Right.
further.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had to take Sean home and no Cedar Point. And then I had to go to my dad. And now this time my dad is with my stepmom now. This is because they met in sixth grade. And then I had to do that. And I have stepbrothers and stuff. And they were just like, so, like it was just a big disappointing thing. I always say disappointment for the day, not just for the day, for a while.
Right.
Because of course everybody, was talking about it. At least there was no social media then at that time, it was just word of mouth. But we thought we were going to end up in juvenile. We didn't know who was going to like it was basically based on, are these people going to press charges?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that squealed, his father had a good idea. We should go to every house or every person or try to track them down and go and apologize and say, we'll do work. Just call us or call his dad. He's the point of contact. And you need something lifted. You need your yard mowed. You need some snow shoveling. You need a person for odd job, whatever it is. They'll be there. So that's what we did. And we got nobody wanted to press charges afterwards. Because so yeah, but the next 2 years we were doing odd stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like we were doing a lot of work. And then my mom met a person, met my stepdad now, and then we got married, and then we moved out of the neighborhood, moved out of there, and went and moved into a suburb. So, and that was yeah, I mean that was the difference, the going from there to there too, and then I just had to deal with out in the suburb dealing with racism and all this other stuff because I was hip hop, I liked what I liked, and all my friends were from all different just backgrounds and just race and stuff, like I didn't care what you like, you're my friend. I didn't even classify you as anything. It's like that's my friend, and when my mom got married and we moved, it wasn't accepted. not at the household, the people at the school and stuff in that town. Just very one-sided. Like, and of course, so I had trouble in school. I had trouble. I had stability. I just wanted to go to school, and here I am. I'm getting harassed, terrorized. Actually, it'd be considered terrorism right now, the way that the world is. And so, yeah. And then I latched onto people, or found people that also were like me, and we got together, and then we became great friends. And you know, school. I didn't do good in school, man. I really didn't. But I only spent 3.5 years in high school too.
Yeah.
Because I learned. It's like I learned how to do Nintendo games and build my collection. I've always got a strategy. You know, I map things out. I campaign them. I analyze them. I've been like that since the beginning. The beginning, you know, how things work. I look at those things like, how does that turn on? You know, how does that get hot, cold? I just don't take the word of it. I actually like go and either experience it for myself or study it for something, you know. But in high school, I had 72 tardies.
Wow.
Yeah, Saturday school. I had so many tardies. I had Saturday school. And then while I was in high school, the senior girls were there. They were like, "Hey, Eric, you want to skip with me? You want to skip with us? What's skipping? What is this magical word, skipping?
Yeah.
What is this golden goose that you just dropped upon my lap? What is skipping? Well, you get to leave school with us, hang out with us all day, and then we'll drop you back off, and it looks like you went to school all day."
And you're like, game on, let's do this.
Oh, we out. We are out.
Yeah.
And before you know it, I got the taste of skipping. And it was like a slippery slope because I skipped so much. I had strategies of skipping. Like I could get on the bus and it looks like I got off the bus. You know what I'm saying? Like everything, you know, covering all my tracks, you know, and stuff. And then I failed. I failed the class right before lunch hour. And so I didn't have that class anymore. So I had an extended lunch. And, you know, I so much skipping, so much detention. But with that extended lunch, I ended up going home. I was like, I'm just going to go home. So my friend Ian and I, we left. He didn't have class yet. He was coming back from Still Center. So I was like, hey, man, let's go back to my house, eat some hot dogs and watch Rap City. That was a great idea. All right, cool. So we get to my house and I don't have the key. I don't have the key, man. Great idea. I'll go around the back and go through the window. That sounds like a good idea. But I'm supposed to be in school. Well, my friend Ian is black. And like I said, the neighborhood.
Racist.
So what do you think happened? So we go in, we go through my window. Obviously some neighbors must have saw us go in because we're sitting there, we eating hot dogs, watching Rap City, having a good time. Then I hear a bunch of car doors. I'm like, what is that? And then I open up the door. I'm like, Ian, the cops is here. The cops are everywhere out there. He's what's going on? I'm like, man, I don't know. And that's how I shut the door. Then I'm looking, I'm like, because I don't know if something's going on outside. So I'm not trying to like invite, you know, something to happen. Something's going on. I thought maybe it was out there. Then I was like, I took one more. I was like, I'm just going to look one more time. When I opened the door, I saw the barrel of the gun. I don't know if it's the cop. I don't know if it's the person that they're looking for. But I slammed that door on it. It was like, and then tried to run. I didn't get far.
Yeah.
They came in, freeze. It could have been a really bad situation, especially the last few years of how things have happened. And they came in, and I'm on the ground. Ian's looking at me like, what did I do? I'm looking at Ian like, what'd you do? We're both looking at each other like, you know, and then they get him and they search him and make him kneel down on the floor with his head on on the cushion of the pillow of the sofa like this.
Mhm.
And then now I'm next. I'm laying there. I got the handcuffs. I'm on my stomach. He's like, get up. I'm like, I'm trying to get up. It's like a fish out of water, man. Like,
Mhm.
I need some help. Like, how am I going to get up? I'm laying here. It's hard to get up when you got handcuffs on your back. You're laying flat on your stomach. I think he grabbed my arm or something, and that gave me a little leverage to get up. And now he's
Mhm.
searching me, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. And now they're in my bedroom. I'm like, hey, man, don't go in there and search in the drawers. Like, and then he still doesn't tell me what's going on. And then my stepdad comes in, and then I'm kneeling on the floor now with my head down. And then he was like, do you recognize this? And he's like, yeah, it's my stepson. Recognize that? Yes, yeah.
Mhm.
It's like, okay. And then that's where I find out they thought we broke into the house. They thought we were intruders.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were coming in. Then the cop, the sheriff says, when you saw the police, why didn't you come out and say homeowner lives here? Because I didn't know you thought I was arrested
Yeah.
robbing the place.
Yeah.
Like, if I knew that, I wouldn't even come out and say homeowner lives there. I had never heard of that. So I'm like, okay. Yeah, man. He was like, wow, good thing you shut the door. I almost shot you. I'm like, that's not funny, man.
Yeah.
That's not funny. So I got grounded. I got grounded so much, man. I didn't have anything in my room that's going back to saying I could entertain myself. I
Mhm.
lost the TV. I lost the phone, Nintendo. Then went to Sega next. My ghetto blaster, my Walkman radio. That's they just took stuff. You're grounded. Snatch, snatch, snatch.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting in my bed just looking stuck on nothing. Just like, man, still not learning. Still not learning.
Yeah.
Um, and so I mean, that's just this, just giving you a glimpse of what it was like, just
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah, and clearly, I mean, talking about overcoming so many different things, and whether it's racism, whether it's being, obviously you were not born into a wealthy family, going through
Mhm.
your parents being divorced and now having to deal with a stepmom and stepdad, all that stuff, all of that can definitely create so much for people, right? Specifically on your early ages, the way the unconscious mind works. And so, take me to 1977. What led to those events and what happened, because that was a life-changing event for you, that literally put you in where you're at now.
Yeah. But, the hip hop music carried with me all the way through high school. When I was in high school, I went to a trade school. It was called Skill Center. And that's where I learned photography, graphic design, and printing. So I wasn't going to go to college. But then when Mr. Watkins said, you're almost done with school. What are you going to do? And I was like, going to continue working. I'm going to do what I'm going to do music and hustle, whatever it is. And he was like, you're not going to college? I'm like, no. And he's like, why? You like photography? And he was like, you can go to school for that. And I didn't believe him. I didn't believe you could go to school for photography. And then he brought in the Art Institute of Pittsburgh and Lansing Community College. Before you know it, the portfolios are being looked at. And then next thing you know, I'm heading to college for photography. Well, while we're there, Ryan, that was in my class too, he moves in with me. So we moved together. And then we find a recording studio. When we got there, we started recording music. Well, while we were living there we started getting the taste of the nightclub life. And one night we met a guy named Big Perm at an after party. And then, of course, we wanted to do a song with him. And when he decided to do the song with us, we came out the studio 3 songs later, and then we became a group Miscellaneous. So going to 97 now, we're celebrating our music release, project, our accomplishment. It's 97. It's early in the morning, so it's really September 20th. It was September 19th, but the shooting happened like 2 o'clock. So I go outside to check the parking lot just to make sure things are cool. And then I'm facing the house, and someone comes around the DJ van and pulls a gun. Pow, 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 pow. And then I get hit with the bullet right in my third and fourth vertebrae. It spins me because they shot me from the back. So I get hit in the neck, and then the other one grazed maybe the back of the skull. So there's a piece of skin that's like raised in the back of my head.
How
I
many
dropped
shots?
down to the ground.
How many shots did you end up getting?
It looks like two. One, well, I have a bullet in my neck now,
Okay.
right in my third and fourth vertebrae. And then it looks like one grazed the back of the skull. And so I'm down on the cement, struggling to survive. You know, I'm unable to breathe on my own. I'm unable to say, hey, I need help. Like, or I'm alive. Any of that stuff. I'm able to communicate verbally, you know, and stuff.
Mhm.
And then also, I'm not able to move from the head down. I can move from the neck down. But that time, I was moving anything. And then I could hear people talking about someone's been shot, Eric's been shot, this and chaos and everything. Remember, there's not like cell phones and stuff. There's more pagers and things like that and landlines. So it was horrible chaos. But at the time, as I was like struggling to survive, I was also like, it felt like unfinished. Like,
Mhm.
not now. Like, really? Like, here's another dream and it didn't get achieved. Like, here's something. I've always been like that person to try to go after things and I get it, almost make it, almost. And I was like, the happiest moment just got rocked to the worst, you know. And so I was just like, I want to live though, whatever it is, you know, let's make it happen. Let's survive. You
Yeah.
know, there's more to this life. I didn't know what it was though at that time.
So all of this is going in your head. You're thinking about these thoughts, and
Yeah,
you're pretty much going through. Okay.
yeah. And then I end up in the hospital and they put this halo on. It's like a metal bird cage. And then they take 4 screws, they drill them in your forehead and above your ears. And then they put tubes in your throat. That's called intubation and a feeding tube. Then wake up, see family and medical and friends. And that's where they tell you, you'll never click cancel, go to sleep. You'll never walk again, or you never move your arms and leg again. It's kind of weird. I think they said you'll never walk again, but I wasn't able to move my arms either. But you know, you're paralyzed from the neck down. I
Hmm.
guess people will never say like, "Oh, you'll never move your arms and legs." They just say you'll never walk again. You know what I mean? Like even in the movies. So even though I was paralyzed from the neck down, um, and they said I probably wouldn't even breathe on my own again or talk. Maybe they didn't really know or even live. I'm not out of the woods yet. You know, next week or so, it's going to be critical for survival. And then my communication. So when they ask me questions, you understand what we said. I communicated with Ivans, once for yes, twice for no. And then, you know, a couple weeks later, the medical decides to make that decision of he's not going to breathe again ever. So we're going to take the tubes out of his throat or out of his mouth and put them in his throat and give him a tracheotomy. So now I have a trach, you know, in my throat. And then now I'm able to communicate with tongue clicks. So new
Hmm.
form of communication. But I am able to eat now though too because I had the feeding tube out. So I was able to enjoy some food finally.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It was great.
Yeah. Let me ask you this.
Oh,
So, what was the motive of the shooting? Was it a drive-by? Was it rivalry? What
nobody
led to
knows.
that? You don't know.
Nobody's been caught. No investigation.
Okay.
There is a incident report, like where it says what happened, what time, the officers that were there. But that's it. It's 1 page. I just got it last year actually.
Mm.
But I fill out the Freedom of Information Act paperwork. I like nothing. So it's like nobody was questioned. Like there's not a report that says, "Oh, I questioned this person there. They said they saw this. I questioned the person there. They saw this." Nothing.
Yeah. So that I mean, definitely that's truly a life-changing event for you, going
Yeah,
through that. And just kind of having to learn how to talk again, breathe again, eat after being shot, and being paralyzed from the neck down. Like,
yeah.
I guess my question is, as you came out of that, what has been one of the lessons you've learned from going? Because it's kind of you're being reborn again, right? I mean, to an extent. What
Yeah.
has been one of your lessons, or not necessarily lessons, but the thing that something you learned that you didn't see before?
Well, not being able to move from the neck down, you see things before they happen sometimes.
Mm.
It's very interesting. Like I could be sitting there in a room, and before that person does what they do, I already know what they're about to do. I'm
Yeah.
like I sit back and wait a minute. It's almost like deja vu. Like did I just see this? Or did I like? And it's so you start noticing people's patterns. You start noticing. It's almost like the Terminator. You know, he goes in it and then the things like
Yep.
you go into a restaurant and that's how it like the tables are like the people and the structure of the people and the height and the what they're wearing. Like I could, you know, all that stuff is just like is going in. It's like absorbing. And you start noticing that. You start noticing the exits. You start noticing the hallways. You start, and with using the wheelchair, you start noticing the curb cuts and the accessible parking and the bathrooms. And you start noticing on the TVs, the closed caption. A lot of the accessibility stuff for people with disabilities, 100% aware. Like
Mm.
I'm like looking at everything like, okay, that person was blind. How would they do this? If they were deaf, how would they do this? If they had a mobility, how would they do this? If they were little, how would they do this? You know, that's been the hit, like the 23 years that I've been, you know, advocating and things like that. Definitely, that's a huge awareness for me. Um, but yeah, the other stuff is observe. I am a good. I could be a great observer for anybody. Like I would be the person in the battle that would be like called the observer.
Mm.
Like he just sits back, he's low key, but he's observing and he's calculating. That would be like my mission. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Because when you go to a restaurant now, I'm not playing with my phone. I don't move my arms,
Mm.
so I don't have my phone. I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually a good
Mhm.
point. Yeah.
But I'm
It,
watching everybody else do it.
right. And again, I think part of that is I think I believe that sometimes we take for granted the things that we have. I mean, again, you and I growing up, I mean, as you said, there was not a lot of a lot of games, you know, not like the way we have it now, or cell phones or any of that stuff, right?
Mhm.
And so I think you know, we sometimes take that for granted, you know, even in our own table, you know, when we're eating at home and we're with family, instead of eating as a family, we're playing games, or we're on the phone, we're texting, we're checking social media, doing all these different things. So I think there's a lack of missing out on really the opportunity of being together and actually having that kind of a connection with the humankind, right?
Most definitely, I think the pandemic definitely brought the humble,
Yeah,
brought people back to reality a little bit.
right.
I would definitely say, you know, brought it back to what's important.
Yeah.
What's important to you.
Yeah, yeah, right. How long were you in the hospital before you were released?
Hospital and rehab was 6 months because I was
Six
had to go
months.
to rehab.
Okay.
Because when I went from the hospital and then I flew out to Denver, Colorado to Craig Hospital, and that's where I learned how to wean off the ventilator. The respiratory therapist would come in five days a week, and they would turn the ventilator off 30-second increments, three times a day. So when the first day they came in, they said, "Hi, I'm a respiratory therapist. How you doing? Blah blah blah. We're going to turn your ventilator off.
Mm. Yeah.
Breathe, Eric, breathe." I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
even know what to do, and I'm
Yeah.
not even able to talk yet. So I'm like, I can move my mouth though, so you can read my lips. So I'm like, I don't know how to breathe. Am I breathing? Am I pushing, going? You know, stuff like that. So one of the tools that they used was they had a pulsometer. So I used to say, "Can you put that on my finger so I can look at my O2 levels?" So this is something I did, you know. So they would leave it with me, and then I could look at my O2 levels and go, "Okay, I'm breathing.
Yeah.
I'm at 98. I'm at okay. I'm doing something here."
Yeah.
Because if you weren't, then your levels would drop, you know.
Right. Coming out of that, you know, and just going through the rehab, at any given point, did you had, you know, suicidal thoughts and say, you know what, what's
Never,
the point of me being here?
never.
Okay. What was your inspiration?
I knew that there was more, and I would say faith.
Mm,
Faith,
I love that. Yeah.
faith, is, faith has got me this far. Like without that, I'd be lost, be broken, man.
Right.
Would be not. I can't even. I wouldn't even want to phantom the thought of it, of how I would be. The stuff that I've had to deal with. We haven't even got to the stuff I've dealt with since. I mean, I just spent 820 plus days and some because I've been on bed rest. I'm still on and off. I'm not completely like I'm still spending time in bed. 820 days in bed since March 1st, 2018. How does a person mentally deal with that?
Right.
Physically deal with that, with the pain, with the isolation? with not being able to get up and go to here and go to there when you have been independent and rocking and rolling and being mobile for the other 20 years,
Yeah.
you know?
And I just said
So,
it's a big mental, and more so now. Why again I believe how powerful the mind is, because again for you it's all of that is really that mental ability, and having that faith and understanding, right? I really love there's an African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, there's no enemy outside that can do you no harm, right? So all of
yeah,
that comes down to your mental aspect of it, and again, you definitely are a true inspiration. You're a true person that has overcome that. So I want to know more about, once you came to the point where, like, you know what, this is my life. Obviously you clearly already know there's nothing that you're not going to be able to do certain things. You're not going to be able to do some abilities that were taken away from you through this fatal or through this aspect of life. How did you now say, you know what, this is the steps, or here's what I'm gonna do, here's the new life that I'm going to do? How has it been since then to now? Because you've now are inspiring, you're being an advocate, you're speaking to doing public speaking, you have a couple of different companies. Like, it takes a lot to do that, even when you can walk, run, scream, jump, and all that stuff, and you see them do it, and you're doing it.
I, at that time, I don't think it was called like, I didn't think it was like called goals, but I was making goals. You know, I was putting goals and timelines. And that's all into the rehab. Even from rehab, it's like, well, from the hospital, the goal was survival. And when we went to rehab, the goal was to get off the ventilator. And we achieved both of them. Coming back home, the goal was basically I was trying to get back to my life that I was living before, which that was the stubbornness. But that failed fast. I went back to school, was commuting 5 days a week, had a rental vehicle. All the things that I tried to think that I was stubborn on failed. Like it just, I had to learn the hard way. It's everything else. So even a wheelchair accessible vehicle. When in rehab, they said you're gonna have to get one. And I'm like, no, let's get transferred. They just transferred to the passenger side. We're good. That got old real quick, really quick. So the other thing is like, how am I gonna be independent? How am I gonna live on my own? How am I gonna have a family? How am I gonna own a business? How am I gonna be sustainable? Like all these things, all that stuff is going through your head when you get home. Because I go home and I go to my mom's house, my stepdad's house. So that's where I'm staying. So I didn't have to go to an institution or nursing home or anything. And then the very first thing is just learning your resources, what's in your area. The Disability Network was the first one. Mr. Zelli is who I met, and he said, I'm 20 years old. He was like, you may not believe this now, but you'll be able to achieve everything you want to do, whatever. Just get involved. Get involved, share your story, testify, and we can get you there. I'm like, all right, I'll roll with it. It sounds believable. Let's do it. Let's roll with it. And then the first thing was being able to hire my own people, my own, to take care of me. So at that point in time, my life became a business. Right now, as we're talking, I have easy awareness, but I have the business of Eric Patrick Thomas caregiving, because that doesn't stop. That's 24 hours. So it's like I run two businesses simultaneously at the same time. It's like running two 7-Elevens right next to each other. You know what I'm saying? Like and one doesn't interact with the other because one's business and one's caregiving. So, but they both are attached to me at the same time.
Yeah.
And so, I went back to school, just absorbed everything. And then we had a fundraiser for a van. So we started learning how to fundraise too. So that was the new thing, how to fundraise for things, medical stuff, wheelchair, whatever it is, vehicles. And so I learned how to fundraise. And then I started learning about this thing called advocating, So I would just go to places and I'd go to the House, go to the Senate when they're making Medicaid and Medicare cuts, and share my story and say, look, I'm independent. I have caregivers. I'm able to teach them how to take care of me, to bathe me, to dress me, to give me, everything, daily functions. And it works. It can work. They don't have to go to a nursing home. This works. And then I had the opportunity to talk to Congressman Dale Kildee me and Dave, when this was at the Disability Network, we only had like 2 minutes to talk to him. And what we said to him, he took the information and put a bill called Money Follows the Person. And it got voted on. It still gets voted on today. It's for billions of dollars, billions, to get people out of nursing homes and living independently. Billions. Like, so lives are changing. So all the different things that's going on, I'm like improving the quality of life of others. Hip hop, I did what I did at the same time. Like, this is a whole different stage. I'm still performing. I'm just performing to a different audience. And at the same time, I'm trying to get back to music. So I tried to do a record label that I incorporated. I learned how to do my own articles of incorporation. I didn't get an attorney. And I filed perfectly. I filed properly. Everything was legit. But then it just got old, with the artists, and everybody wanted to be superstars, overnight. There's no overnight success. Even though people think there is. So I stopped that, and then a guy in Detroit heard about me, and he had the paper called the Promoter Newspaper. And so then he said, I want you to write for it and deliver it. So I was like, I already know how to do all this stuff. I was a paper boy. So, and I write by my voice. I use Dragon Naturally Speaking. So if anybody wants to know how does he type, and so I did that. And that went on for like 5 years. And then he stopped that. And then I went on there was a grant for the state of Michigan for mentoring. And I started doing that, mentoring other people with disabilities and their caregivers. And then that grant got taken away. And then I opened up an internet radio station. And before you know it, I'm in my apartment now. I've already moved out of my mom's house, mom and stepdad's house. I'm in my apartment. This little small bedroom is like the size of a closet. And that's where we do our radio station. And at that time, there was MySpace. And so I got a blanket license through Live 365. And I got my neighborhood crew, and I'm like, we all got back together, and then we developed this huge radio station, and we had a website, but the website looked like we were the largest internet radio station out there. I mean, it was huge. It was the Wizard of Oz effect. That's what I call it. Being the Wizard of Oz, being the person behind the curtain where they don't know. They're like, oh, it's the Oz, it's the Oz. And it's just the old white guy behind the curtain, like, that's what it is. We created that effect. And we also created like blockers. So if you were going to try to call me, you were going to contact like 2 other people. And that built the mind. If we're talking about mind, the person in their mind was like, wow, that company's big, because I'm not able to get to Eric. I got to go through his staffer. I got to go through the buffer. And then I want to get to him, but I'm not able to get to him. And it was amazing how people looked at things. And we bought advertisement on MTV, and we put the commercials with Run's House and Pimp My Ride.
Wow.
And people were like, man, you guys are doing big things. And we were thinking like, no, we just bought local advertisement for $4 to $6 a slot. You know what I'm saying? But the mind, they weren't thinking that way. They were thinking like, dude, we saw you on MTV, your world, your big, like everything. And it was huge though. But at the same time, that right there, we started getting all these shows. And then all these music artists started their A&Rs and stuff were contacting us. And we were getting music early. It was getting interviews, and it went on for a while. And then internet radio the royalty rates was changing, and it was a threat to close. And before you know it, we went to DC and saved internet radio. We introduced the Internet Radio Equality Act. So I'm back in DC talking to House and Senate again, the Congress, the legislators. And we introduced that, and that was cool. And we passed. But later on, there were loopholes, and I had to shut the radio station down. And then I went back to my childhood dream, owning my own clothing line, and I opened up Easy Awareness by Design after a year or so of writing the business plan and rewriting it, finding the business partner, the investor, and the space to open it up at. And all that stuff is learned. We have the internet. I don't have to go to the library and look for the little index card and find the library book. I just go to the internet, and then I go to people. If I talk to people that are smarter than me in fields because I learned. For one, they know more about that field of work than me. And then talking to them and putting them in my circle, I grow from that weak point that I don't know. Because that's considered like not like a weakness or improvement, I would say. I don't know this, but I'm gonna be around the expert. That's only gonna boost me up.
Mhm.
That's only going to make me better in that field. I'm not gonna be an expert, maybe, who knows, but at least I'm going to be better in that and grow. Like I have room to grow. If I'm an expert in something and I hire an expert, where's the room for us to grow? We're going to be on the teeter totter sitting there waiting to go, waiting who's going to push up and down. So, yeah. So then the easy awareness opens up. And then a couple years later, then we start the Inspire brand. And that started just by me wearing the Inspire right on the shirt when I went to speak. We started seeing how people were taking it, how the kids were reacting too. And so we made it public. And
Nice.
that's how Inspire became public. And uh, it's interesting because when I was little, I always wanted a clothing line. I used to wear my shirt inside out and then imagine my name or my name backwards, sire or something. I used to say, you
Mm.
know, uh, on it. And then when airbrushing came out, I had like clothes with like a guy with a hip hop, hoodie on with dice or something like that. And then one day I was looking at the Inspire and then I saw it. ERIC is in it. The P is a C backwards. When we made the trademark, we actually wrote my name backwards. And the P is actually the staff of the P, but the circle of the hump of the round of the P, that's a backwards C. Here it was, I used to imagine having my name backwards on a shirt,
And now you have it.
and now I have it in the word inspire.
Wow.
Inspire's been there. This brand's been there. It was just waiting for me to get my stuff together and catch up with it.
Yeah. Well, you know what, and that's that. I'm looking at it right now, and it definitely makes sense. And it reminds me again. We go back to the mind, and Napoleon Hill says, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve." And that's really has been, a lot of the things that you've done, up to this point. You definitely have an amazing story, and I just have a couple more questions for you. And I want to hear more, and definitely, I think we need to bring you back and continue, a part 2 of this show, because definitely you have so much great things going on, and it's just very inspirational. One thing that you have here, and I really like how you put it, is very simple yet very powerful, and I want you to elaborate on that. Is never say you can't, always say how. So can you elaborate on that message?
Yes, and it's a great question, and I say it a lot. When people are around you, or people say things like, "Oh, I can't do this," or "I can't do that," exactly what you just said about the mind. Well, you just eliminated yourself on that. You're not going to do it because you just said you can't. You already put yourself at a negative, like you already have pulled yourself back of achieving that instead of changing the word concept and saying how. And we use how all the time. We just don't say how. We might even actually say how subconsciously. It's like, hey, you're gonna pick me up. How? You coming? It's like,
Yeah.
in my car, or are we going here? Or, you're mapping it out. Like, you're gonna go to the restaurant, or how are we gonna get there? You just say it. And so the other thing is that how, when you say how, it builds while you're sleeping, while you're awake, while you're eating. It's always constantly building the how. It's like an open box that doesn't close, and it's building. So you didn't close. We were trying to figure that how. It's like, how am I gonna do that? It's open. It's an open. It's open. It's like the faucet is on, and the water's flowing. Nobody's turned it off. You say can't, so your pipe's been broke. Pipes have been busted. So there's not even gonna be water flowing out of it because you heard it so bad. Because by your words, you have just completely assassinated that dream before you even started. Yeah. So I always say the how, and then I always say, like, well, find the how. So write out your dream. So this is okay. I need to get a house. Put it down. Okay. How am I going to make this dream happen? How? What's it going to take? And then also while you're doing your how, go for the other stuff. Why? Why do I want this to even happen? Why am I doing this? So, but the how is like, okay, what's the strategies? And it kind of goes back to how I built the Nintendo collection.
Mm.
How am I going to build? I mean, it's kind of like part of me, I guess. It's nothing new. It's always, I think the stuff that's in me is in me.
Yeah.
When I got shot, and it just intensified it. It just brought it out like times 100 or something. It just brought it out more, like electrifying. Like Inspire's there, but now it's here, This is here, now it's here. Like it's so yeah, I mean the how is really important to me. And I try to think about what the words. The words are important. Certain words have certain weight, for real.
Yeah. And
certain power.
they definitely matter, the way you speak to yourself and even the way you are speaking to somebody else, right? Because you're unconsciously, talking to the unconscious mind. Yeah.
Yeah, if I say can't, sometimes I'll try to correct myself and stop myself when I say
Right.
I'm unable. That means that's like leaving it open. Like can't is almost like you've
Right.
closed the box. Unable is kind of like possibility, So I try to say unable. One of the, just by changing those words, just those words,
Can make a big difference. Yeah.
make a huge difference. Huge difference from achieving and not achieving.
Right.
That's been a huge thing.
Yeah.
Never say can't, always say how.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
love
then
that.
the other one of the quotes was, I never knew, going back to words, I never knew how powerful one word could be till I wore it on the shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love that. I love that. Eric, if people wanted to connect with you, where can they find you?
Google Eric Patrick Thomas. That'd be the first thing. And then any of the social is under Eric Patrick Thomas, except Twitter's Eric P. Thomas. And then for the Inspire, it's Inspire Shirt. And for Instagram, it's Inspire Shirt #1. So if they want on Instagram or Facebook, it's under Eric Patrick Thomas. And then the YouTube channel, I think is EPT77. No, it's not. It's Eric Patrick Thomas, I think now. I think I finally got Eric Patrick Thomas for the YouTube. I think that's what it is. I think it's like youtube.com/ whatever that other part is. And then it's Eric Patrick Thomas.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
And there's so many videos on YouTube.
Yeah, that's good.
On planes, traveling. So it's
a form of inspiration, definitely, and just being able to do that. So my last question for you is, obviously you've overcome so much, you've gone through so much in the last couple of years or several years. What is one thing, or what is that one thing that you seem to be very positive, inspiration? What is it that you do to keep you in this state of mind?
Happiness. Find your happiness. What makes you happy? Like, you should try to be happy. Like food. I love food. With Jesse earlier, with Jesse, it's like, what do you want to get for lunch? Surprise me. She's just like, do you want me to just surprise or really surprise? I'm like, surprise. You know what I'm saying? Because then it's food, and food. And then sometimes it might just be like reading a book. I have her, the Alice. You say her name. I listen to a book on audio. Maybe I want to listen to music. Maybe I want to write a lyric. Maybe I want to write a poem. Maybe I want to do karaoke. I'm just doing things that bring happiness through this traumatic times and through the pain. I'm in pain. Just because I'm paralyzed doesn't mean I'm not in pain. By far, I am being inside me right now. I'm feeling like 6 different pains going on, from contractions to spasms to neck to bullet to you name it. So it's all going on, working inside. But that's the thing. And just keep your faith. Just keep your focus and start planning out. Like if you're having some bad times or not feeling right, then start writing out things that you want to achieve, and then get excited so that when the good happens, Well, I guess I always say we have good days, we have better days.
Mm.
So when the better happens, then you're ready. You're like, yeah. Wait, you know what I mean? When you lay in bed for that long, you feel like you could take on the world when you get back up into your chair.
Mm.
In your chair, I said, in your bedroom, like going from the bed just to be able to sit in the chair in my bedroom. I feel like just raw, like
Yeah.
I'm ready, and then being able to actually get up 7 days a week and then get in the vehicle, be mobile, you
Wow.
know, just
Yeah.
those are the things. So I would say, like, if someone needs to, overcome some of anything, think about what it is you have to overcome, but think about find your how too. How are you going to overcome it? But also keep yourself, do things that make you happy. Because the mental block, that mental weight, people don't realize that mental weight. There's mental weight that you don't even understand that's there. Especially forgiveness. When I got shot, I gave forgiveness.
Mm.
Whoever did it's forgive. It's done deal.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I love that. I really love that, and find the happiness and forgive. I think there are some such great things for us to do daily. So, Eric, again, I really enjoyed this conversation. Love the fact that you have so much great information to give us, and definitely I need to get you back to a second episode so that we can kind of finalize this. But anything
Yeah.
else that you want to say before I let you go?
No, just thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great to be on here. It's a good conversation too. It's always nice to have good conversation and and also like just good questions and being able to, and anybody that's going to be listening,
Yeah.
hopefully we're able to help someone.
Right.
We're able to help them. That's what, when they're listening. And don't forget to like, give thumbs up, share, support. That's
Yes.
how you do it. So when
Yeah.
you're listening, don't just listen. You got to contribute too.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Eric, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate you. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Again, as Eric said, make sure you like, share, listen to this on your favorite podcast. Tell people somebody needs to listen to this message, and go check out Eric's website, his clothing line, his YouTube videos. It's really an inspiration. So make sure you check him out. I'll see you guys at the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Goodbye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.